Hello, everybody. This is Cari Guerin, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. With me again, as usual, is the master of hops and malt, space and time, Bobby McFleshman.
Happy to be here for an impromptu episode.
And as you can hear in the background, probably, there's a lot of Irish music going on. So there's that. And our guest, back on the other side of the microphone, after being on the other side and not on the other side, Cari Guerin, who we never really got to talk to when she was a guest. She was kind of running a taste testing for us. So we want to get into the details of how you got into beer, how you got into this business. So why don't you give the superhero origin story of how you got your start?
I like to tell people that my background, I have the drinking trifecta. I am a German, Irish...
Liver disease? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's maybe future, I don't know. But I'm German, I'm Irish, and I was raised in a small town in the middle of Wisconsin. That is the drinking trifecta. My dad was a German man who kept his beer next to the refrigerator, not in the refrigerator. And I truly cannot remember my first sip of beer. I was very little. It was never something that was off limits to me. So it was always a normal part of my life growing up. So I've acquired a taste very young.
Home was New London?
New London.
Yeah, which becomes New Dublin this time of year, right?
It does become New Dublin every March. Yes, it does.
So there's plenty of beer to celebrate there.
There are Irish communities around here, but not a lot. New London and Freedom, are the only ones
Yes, I believe Freedom is also.
Yeah, that have like an Irish background.
New London has really embraced the Irish, for sure.
But Germans are a dime a dozen here.
Kinda, yeah.
Germans, Polish, Dutch were kind of a lot of the...
In the fact cities, yeah.
When we were looking to open the brewery, we found that 75% of everyone that lives in the Fox Valley claims German descent.
Oh, sure.
And I think 28% claim Irish descent.
Yeah.
Irish descent. So
sounds
it makes
right.
sense.
are the largest ethnic group in the United States. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the reason has to do with World War I. It became very unfashionable to be German in the United States. And there was actually a period of 18 months where there were more lynchings of Germans than African Americans.
Oh, wow.
Because if you were German, and so the town of New Berlin in Wisconsin, that used to be New Berlin. And New Berlin, they simply changed the pronunciation, and there were cities that changed their name, people that, there were German newspapers and like Oshkosh and around there, they stopped doing that, and that's when everything became very anglicized.
There you have it.
And World War II didn't help.
I did not know that.
That was just...
right?
fuel to the fire. But by that time, a lot of the de-Germanization had already happened.
Speaking of beer, Cari, we're back on your origin stories.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
So your parents abused you, fed you alcohol at a young age.
I guess you could say that, but sure.
And I should add, for those of you listening outside of Wisconsin, that is perfectly legal here.
Absolutely
Yeah.
it is. It is.
Your parents can serve you alcohol.
Yep.
And in fact, at McFleshman's, so
Yeah.
long as your parent is here,
Yes.
I think you technically have to give it to the
Yes,
parent.
I was going to say, as a beer tender, I cannot serve a beer to a minor, but I can give it to their parents, and they can give it to their child.
And then how does it, I think between 18 and 21, there's a loophole.
No, there used to be.
Oh, is it? Okay, they closed
so
that.
So the law used to state that I'm trying to remember how it was. If you were a minor, you could drink with your parents, which meant once you turned 18, you were no longer a minor.
Right.
But the law was changed 8 to 10 years ago, I think it was. They changed the word minor to underage.
Got it. Okay, close the
So,
loophole.
yes,
For a
they
while,
closed-
I thought that
For
existed.
a while, yes. You could drink if you were 9, but not if you were 19.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things about Wisconsin because of the Tavern League, where in one hand it's just a state of anarchy. You can do whatever you want. And then on the other hand, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like Many of the neighboring states have legalized marijuana. We probably never will. You cannot mail beer in or out of the state,
Right.
but you can wine. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just these weird
It
things.
is weird.
That's Wisconsin.
I grew up in Oklahoma, so these weird things, I was drowning in them before we moved.
Oh my gosh, I remember when I started here, and I remember asking you and Allison about what our policy was for minors. And the horrified looks on your faces. Like, what are you even talking about? Of course we're not going to give beer to a
In what
minor.
universe? Yeah.
Like, okay.
And they had no clue what the law was.
No,
No.
they had never heard this before. They were like, what? Why would we do such a thing?
Oh, in a state that doesn't even refrigerate above 3-point beer, we were still adjusting, for sure.
Okay, so that's your childhood.
Yes.
You become an adult
Yep.
of legal age. What was the story after that then?
Well, growing up with that, I had kind of acquired that taste. I've always really enjoyed the flavor of beer.
This isn't you writing in your dream book like, I'm going to work at a bar.
No. Oh, gosh, no, definitely not. But, in college, I had a couple friends that were home brewers. I have some family members that home brewed. I personally never have, which is kind of weird to me, but
Shadow
Yeah.
Day, that's coming.
Shadow Day.
Everybody's going to get to jump in.
I got married, had kids. I taught my husband about craft beer because he was the Bud Light drinker, which no dissing Bud Light. There is a time and a place for every beer out there. I have drank my share of Busch lattes, but I've just always appreciated the flavors and the different arrays of flavors. There's just something out there for every time and every place and every person.
I have sat on the other side of the bar many times here, and I have seen people come in, first time here, and they literally, that's what they order, not knowing that
Sure.
they make everything here. It's like, oh, well, what's the closest you have to Bud Light?
Yeah.
And because that's all they know.
Yep.
And I think that's, for a lot of people, it's not like that's a taste preference. It's literally, it's just,
That's all they know.
Yeah.
It truly is. And that's really fun behind the bar when I can get somebody who, and we're always going to have those people that, nope, that's all I want. Give me your State Street, whatever. But when I get those people that are willing to step outside and try something different, and that is so much fun for me when I can, or the person who comes in and is like, I don't like beer. What are you going to serve to me? Like, okay, let me ask you a couple questions. Let me see what I can figure out. And if I can find something that they like, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I liked beer. I like beer. It's fun.
In the wine world, you only have, and there's a certain art and romance to it. You only have grapes, water, and sometimes no yeast because they're spontaneously fermented. But in the beer world, we're working with 4 ingredients actively. We have malt, the hops, the water, and the yeast.
Yep.
And that gives us so much more to work with. And the
Oh my
way
gosh,
that malt
so
comes
many different
in
things.
that's been we don't give these maltsters enough credit. The guys that take the barley from the field, and they go through the germination process and the toasting and the kilning, and they generate all these flavors and colors that we take credit for as brewers. We blame those guys when things go south. We always say these fucking maltsters, they threw us, we throw them under the bus, let's say it that way. They do so much work. But yeah, in the beer world, we have so much more to work with.
Yeah,
Then-
there really is something for almost everybody out there. There's a flavor that we can find for you.
We can go as sour as you want. We can go as hoppy as you
Yep.
want. And
Malty.
a
Yeah.
lot of people have never had anything like a sour.
Yeah.
They
True,
wouldn't think of that as
true.
beer.
And we do traditional sours here for the most part, and that's a very different animal than a fruited sour where you'll dump. I don't want to say dump, but there's a way that you can make beers sour really quickly, and there's a way you have to go the long route, and they're very different. So yeah, they're
I've been to
puckering.
many like convenience stores around here, and you go into their beer cooler, and I looked once.
Yeah.
Every beer they had was just a light lager.
Yeah.
That's all they
Yeah.
were, and that is to most people what beer is.
Yes.
Colt 45
Absolutely.
era.
They've
Yeah.
never had a cask beer, probably.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh.
Can we get
no.
Cask at Quick Trip?
Oh my gosh.
You think we can talk Quick Trip?
If I had
to go cask.
the first 2 years I worked here, if I had a dime for every time somebody came back up to the bar with their dimple mug of tall mast or mild or whatever that cask beer was, and was like, "Hey, this beer is warm and flat." It's like, oh no, that's what it is. That's beer.
Translation: This beer isn't Miller Lite.
They just didn't
Nope, it's
understand
not.
what it was. And, that was one of the things that was a little bit of a shift for me coming here, was the educating of our clientele. Because people didn't know what cask beer was.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was another part of it. Or even with the sour beers, a lot of people, same thing. People would come up and be like, "We think something might be wrong with your beer. It's really, really sour." Well, because it's a sour beer. And the educating was a really, it still is. It's still a fun thing to do.
And once in a while, I've talked about how Steve from Stone Arch, he didn't say this so much, but he implied that if he had a chance to, he would open a pub like we've opened here, where we could focus on cask ale. And he and I talked about this before we opened this, and we knew it'd be uphill, and it has been uphill, but it's paid off. It's created quite
for sure.
the following downstairs.
Yes, there is definitely a whole cult of the cask, if you will.
Yeah, there is definitely. What do we call them? Pinhead? I call them pinheads.
Pinheads.
Because the smallest
it.
version of a cask is called a pin.
I've never had
Or they could be our Firkin patrons.
There's
or
so many
Firkin.
F-word combinations.
I never had a sour beer before I came here. Ever.
Yeah.
And it's probably my favorite style of beer now.
Yeah.
Or at least some of the Berliner Weiss, the Gosa, the
I love a good
Saisons.
Gosa.
It comes from that wine and cider quadrant
little
of
bit,
the palate. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Well, even within that Ultima. The
Oh,
Ultima
yeah.
Rosé.
Yeah, so we do that wine
So many
infused
people. I
dry
give people
beer.
that beer that say they don't like beer, and they're like, "This is not beer." I'm like, "Yeah, it is."
And it's a beer that really doesn't have a category. There's very few beers like that in the world. So it's a good crossover that way.
It's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you get your first job in the industry?
Actually,
I used
gosh,
air
it was-
quotes around industry.
It was.
Put that in the transcript. Air quotes were
I
used.
don't even know if it was. I don't know how many years ago. 10 plus years ago. I was a regular at Stone Arch, and Andy.
Yep.
Who's now one of
Now
the.
he's like
is-
he's GM
is the
over there?
brewer- Yeah,
Yep.
he's a head brewer over there, and
No, he's the
he's
full blown GM
Oh, he's
now.
the GM
yeah,
now.
he's the whole
wow.
thing.
Okay,
Mhm.
well, yeah, he was a bartender, and he was bartending in the tap room, and I was hanging out one day, and he's like, "Man, I just wish I could get a Saturday off." I'm like, "I'll bartend for you," and it was kind of a joke, but then he's like, "Really, you want to?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do," and so they threw me behind the bar, and it's all downhill from there.
It's all plateau from there. It's all It's an industry where you can look at it either way.
Kind of got thrown into it, and I loved it, and here I am.
And then she started stalking us in 2016,
Oh, gosh,
17,
something right after
whenever the news broke.
Well, because at that point is right when you were leaving there.
Oh, that's right.
I was just coming
left
into
there
that place, and you were leaving.
to build this place. Yeah.
And I heard of this being who was called Bobby. And heard all these things about Bobby and
That's on his
how
birth
much he
certificate.
knew about it.
On
Yes,
his birth certificate.
how much he knew about beer and all this stuff. And then at one point I had heard that he was opening a brewery, so I did stalk him on Facebook, found the brewery, and I messaged him and I said, "Hey, here you're opening a brewery. No, you're not anywhere near hiring somebody, but when you get to that point, please reach out to me because I'm going to work for you."
When we finally sit down to do an interview, it really felt like a foregone conclusion. And it was me and Layla.
I think Shane was part of it
Maybe
too.
Shane was there.
I think he was
we were
too.
sort of the first three people working here the whole time, and yeah, it felt very, very ceremonial at that point.
I've had interviews like that. The internet company I used to have in the 90s, I remember our guy who was our top programmer. He came in. We used a platform that was really new at the time, and his resume was a stack of code that he had written. And it was like, here, and I was looking at it, it's like, you figured out ways to do things that aren't in this package yet. No one has figured out how to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he never got a college degree. Best, like I said, best programmer we had, best employee. Like, if he had at any point ever come to me and said, I want a raise, I'm like, okay, I have to.
Yeah.
Because we're screwed without you.
Yeah. And we talk about this a lot, how the person standing behind the bar is the last one to touch the beer and the only one that a lot of people ever have
And I should say,
contact
Carrie
with.
touches the beer. She'll put her finger in it and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Oh, any chance I get.
If we ever get Mike on this, we have to make sure we're not literal. So Mike's another one of our original OG, which is...
He's number 2, and
Yeah,
I
he's
like to
number
remind
2.
him that he is number 2.
And he's coming back for more hours these days. It's like what's old is new. But yeah, these people are everything for us up there. They know us only by the face of Carrie or Mike or whoever is standing behind that bar, and if they touch their beer or not.
So one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is that you are a cicerone.
A level 1, yes.
And so explain what that is, because a lot of people, it's a word they probably haven't come across.
Sure.
And
So I liken it for people who know a sommelier in the wine world is the equivalent of a cicerone in the beer world. Cicerone is I don't even remember how many levels there are now.
I think there are 4 now.
I think there's 4 levels.
Because there was such a huge gap from 2 to 3. It was stupid.
level
Yeah.
4, you can control beer with your mind.
Basically,
That's kind of where it is. There's like
basically.
18 people in the world that have
Yeah,
it. It's so ridiculous.
something I'll never see. Level 1, certified beer server. It's just how it fits with what this place is. It is learning how to respect the beer. It's learning how to pour it properly. It's learning what a clean glass looks like. It's learning if the beer's not pouring properly, how to troubleshoot. It's learning how to help people find a beer that they are going to enjoy. So that's that level 1. Level 2 is just learning so many things about beer that there's a big test that you have to take for the level 2. I'm hoping to someday take it, but there's a written test that's just all sorts of beer knowledge. But then there's a practical, and I liken it to if you've ever seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite, where he is tasting the milk. And he's like, this cow got into a field of onions. And it's being able to taste these beers and tell what's wrong with them or what style it is.
And after you have a couple
very
beers,
in-depth.
you're just like, do you have tots?
I mean, that's always a fair thing. That's like a palate cleanser, those tots.
I always remember the movie Sideways.
Oh, yeah.
He convinces
No
him that...
Merlot.
Well, there's a moment where he convinces him that that there's like, was it crayon or eraser?
I think maybe
It was-
eraser.
and he convinced him of it, and then he slapped him in the back of the head because he was just leading him on to see how much bullshit he would buy
Oh,
into.
yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen the Apple TV series Drops of God?
No.
No,
I
haven't.
recommend it. It's in English, Japanese, and French. It's about the world's greatest wine connoisseur. He dies, and his daughter and the son he had in Japan that nobody knows about have to compete
Oh, geez.
for his estate, which is like $100 million collection of wine.
Oof.
And season 2 just started, so.
Good TV.
Nice.
So why get a Cicerone certification? What is the point of it?
I should
go ahead.
interjecting just a little bit. I think the Cicerone program exists because, was it Ray Daniels that started it? And I think Randy Mosher might have been involved as
I think
well.
Randy
They're
Mosher
kind of
was
based
involved.
in Chicago.
Yes,
they
based in
realized that
Chicago.
there really wasn't an analog in the beer world for what sommelier was, just to reinforce your point. And that beer is the every man's woman's drink over the course of history, but in reality, there's so much sophistication that could be celebrated. I think that's why they made it. They want to tell people in this way by creating this certification. But anyway, so
For
why
sure.
Cicerone?
And well, going off that, and what I'm about to say is not a diss on wine at all. I love wine, but
No, go ahead. diss on it.
wine,
You know what
Wine
winemakers
has-
drink while they're waiting for the wine to finish?
beer.
Yeah. True story.
Wine has very limited number of ingredients. You're not going to introduce adjuncts into your wines typically. It's grapes, it's water. I mean, it's very limited ingredients. Beer, yes, if you're looking at the Reinheitsgebot, that beer purity law, that's just those 4 ingredients.
Not brought, just to call back another episode. Bought.
Business opportunity.
But there's all these other things that can get introduced into beer. And on top of that, if you look at hops, there are how many different hops? Well over 100 different, 150 kinds of different hops.
And
you can
ridiculous.
use them 1 hop in a beer. You can use 2 hops in a beer. All the unlimited number of combinations of things. So beer is very, very complex. And
the caveat is none of us are winemakers by trade. We've dabbled in wine, so we don't mean to talk down into that industry.
not at all.
Yeah, 'cause
Not
there's
at
a
all.
lot
That's
going
why I
on
said
there.
I'm not saying this as a diss to
Winemaking is
anybody
fundamentally
with wine.
farming.
Sure.
And that's kind of how they market their industry,
Right.
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
I think there's more chemistry and artistry in beer.
Yeah, because you're selecting your ingredients from a much bigger menu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas
There's so many more
your
different
average
combinations.
winemaker is going to have a vineyard, and maybe they may blend grapes from some nearby vineyards, but it's not like, oh, we're buying something from the other side of the world.
Right.
They're just, and then they mash it and then they let it sit.
And I find there's a lot more leniency in batch variation because we talk about vintage and we celebrate the years. That's not how beer is. And I've said that many times. You got to be able to execute the same product year by year, regardless of how that product came out of the field.
Oh, yeah, there is definitely something with beer to be said for consistency. And that's when I hear people diss the big beer makers, the Miller, the Budweiser, there is something truly to be said for the consistency in those big mass-producing breweries. To be able to grab a Bud Light off a shelf and you know exactly what you're going to get every single time. That is not easy to do. So I'm never going to diss the mass producers. I don't necessarily drink a lot of that because I like craft beer, but there is something to be said for those mass-produced beers.
Oh, I've noticed it here. And I think I've told Bobby, there are times where I've had a something amber or something where, for whatever reason, that batch is particularly good.
Sure.
It's not that other ones are bad, but sometimes it's just like it goes to 11.
Yeah. And sometimes a question for Bobby on this then. I feel like sometimes it's maybe that you weren't able to get a particular hop and you have to substitute with something else.
I was about to point that out. On our scale, we don't have access to the ingredients, the lot sizes that these big brewers do. And we are navigating that. The other thing, though, on our scale, we're only entering our 8th year. And a lot of these macro brewers we're talking about are 200 years old. And they've had that many years to dial in their recipe.
Right.
So as much as I get shit for fucking with the recipes, it's part of what it takes to develop your menu. And then to execute on that is where the technician's hat comes into play. And you have to be able to repeat that recipe once it's been embraced by the people that spend their money. So yeah, I think the big guys have realized who they are, and now they've gone into technician mode for the last 100+ years.
So, you presented a fait accompli to Bobby that you would work here. So what is and we talked about this on a previous episode, what is your favorite beer at McFleshman's?
Oh, that's such a hard question because I love so many of the beers that they make here.
Then let me flip it. What is your least favorite beer?
Oh, my least favorite.
The one's like, yeah, it's not my thing.
There are a couple different ones. I'm not a big fan of a wild sour. If they get into a little too much funk, not my thing. If you start using the terms wet horse blanket to describe a beer, it's just I don't care for that. And I know some people love it, and it's a very traditional style. I can appreciate it for what it is. I'm not going to ever order that beer.
See, I love that stuff.
And
Yeah, for people listening, it's now since been identified as a yeast. It's called Brettanomyces,
yeah.
which means British fungus, if you're breaking that word down. And it's what was found in the staves of barrels over time. So a lot of your porters and IPAs and you name it finish this way over time.
For sure.
And so they would actually start blending new and old, and this is how some of your porters came about at the pub. They would blend the new and the old, which is going really south and the really fresh stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So not my style. I appreciate the Stone's Throw. The Stone's Throw. It's not my beer. It's a great beer. People love it. I'm so happy that people love it. It's just not my style. I tend to lean more toward a little bit bigger beers. I shouldn't even say that though, because I love a good Kolsch or a good Pilsner.
What are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking the Public House Pint Dry Irish Stout.
With a soundtrack playing in the background.
It felt right in the moment with the Irish music playing.
So, in addition to working here and being a cicerone, you've also visited a great many breweries in the state of Wisconsin.
I have.
So
have
200 plus?
Yes.
I didn't even know there were that many.
And not all of them in Wisconsin. Some are outside of
You have
Wisconsin.
tasted
But
how many beers probably?
oh, what did I say? Like 3,400 plus, something like that.
So, McFleshman's aside, what are your favorite breweries in the state? Give me a top
Oh, in the state.
5.
I love Central Waters. I love the space. I love when it's
I've heard that a lot.
summertime. The Amherst, the Milwaukee one is fantastic too. It's a beautiful old church building. It's gorgeous. But the Amherst location, grabbing a beer, sitting outside.
Oh, their anniversary's next Saturday.
It's coming Saturday.
I got you. Yeah.
Excited.
I got VIP tickets.
You do?
Yeah,
Nice.
Denny.
Denny?
Oh, nice.
Oh man,
It's gonna be a
we
fun
all know the same
time.
guy.
We all got the same guy. But to grab a beer out there in the summer and sit outside is just it's my happy place. I love going there. Outside of Wisconsin,
They're also a really environmentally
they
friendly
are, yes,
brewery as well.
Yes, they are super green, which is amazing.
And their barrel-aged beers are
I was just going to go into that.
unparalleled.
Their
Yeah.
barrel program is phenomenal. The stuff they're putting out in the barrels is just world class, I think. And I know a couple of the people that are there. They are great people that work there. Yeah, I love going there. It's just I can take a deep breath and relax when I go there. So many other breweries. There's so many great breweries in Wisconsin. But like outside, I'm gonna put this one in. The most surprising brewery I ever stumbled upon was actually in the jungles of Costa Rica.
Yeah, you showing pictures of this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, there was a brewery out in the middle of the jungle.
Surprising the fact that there even
It
was a brewery.
Well, that was surprise number one. But the bigger surprise was that I had one of the best Kolsches I have ever had in my life.
It doesn't hurt that
Amazing.
the weather was what it was. It must have
for
matched
sure.
perfectly.
Oh, yeah. It was perfect weather
Yeah.
for that. But it was the lacing on the
Yeah.
beer was amazing. But literally just out in the open, not even in a building. It was out in the open in the middle of the Costa Rican jungle.
Love that.
It was so cool.
And someone said, this is a good place for a brewery. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so fun to go there.
And they're making, well, it's sort of a lager. It's a cool fermented ale. So
Yeah.
they're in the middle of Costa Rica. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know how they lager that beer
Yeah, yeah.
because it was like 90 degrees,
Yeah.
but it was so good.
And your favorite non-McFleshman's beer?
Okay, I'll give you my desert island beer. Bell's Two Hearted.
How do you spell that?
Bell's Brewery, Two Hearted Ale.
Two Hearted is it's a fish, right? In the
I think so.
River?
Yeah. The fish is a logo. The logo is a fish for that
yeah,
beer.
they named it after that fish.
Yeah, Two
And
Hearted.
it's arguably the best
It's
double IPA in
so
the United States.
freaking good. It's just hits.
Where's the brewery?
In Michigan.
It's between Pliny the Elder, which we're going to have an interview with the owner of
Oh,
soon.
fun.
Russian River Brewing Company, but it's between that one and Bell's Two Hearted as to who makes the best best American double IPA. But yeah, that's a good one. That's all Centennial hops. That's an all Centennial
I
hop
love a
beer.
Centennial hop.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that little resiny danky.
You don't have any number twos. That's your number one.
That's my number one.
It.
That is
All right.
if I can only drink one beer for the rest of my life, that's the
Not
beer.
the worst choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question for you. We get people listening to the show from all over. Let's say we had someone recently come here from out of state because they wanted to meet me and I didn't know they were coming. You're behind the bar. They order a flight. And you have full
Sure.
choice on what they're going to get. What are you going to pour for them?
For sure, a cask beer, depending on what's on and what else I pick, is going to determine which cask beer. But for sure, a cask beer. I will probably pull something from our Lucre faucet because that is another beer type of pour that a lot of people don't always know about. So I like to introduce those two different kinds of faucets or pours. Gosh, it's really going to depend on what we have on. Okay, I'm just going to go with any beers that we have. I'm probably going to pour a tall mast from the cask. I'll say a Schwartz beer from the Lucre. So there we got a lighter and a
Not
darker.
a Hildy?
Ooh, Hildy. We have so many really nice light beers. And trust me, Hildy, she's my girl. I take her on vacation with me. I have pictures of her in Costa
beach
Rica.
pics.
I have pictures of her on the beach in Florida with me. I have pictures of her in Cancun. She's my girl. I love her. But if I'm going to do a lighter beer on the cask, I'm probably going to go darker on the Lucre. Then I would probably go with maybe like Pirates Cove just because it's such a staple for us. And it's just a great beer. And then what would that fourth one be? That's a tough one. I might go with something kind of different that they've never experienced, like an Ultima Rosé, just because it's such a unique style, if they're giving me nothing to go on. Just to give them a real, total array of different stuff. A couple beer-flavored beers, couple not-so-beer-flavored beers.
Not one. I mean, of course, tall mast, but not one West Coast IPA. That's fascinating.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I don't disagree with the choice.
That's where
Yeah.
I go. If
Yeah.
I'm drinking a beer, typically I lean toward the West Coast.
Yeah.
But if given no direction, I
Yeah.
know that's can be a polarizing beer for
Right,
people.
right.
I'm probably going to stay away from it.
Fair enough.
Just because I like it doesn't mean everybody does.
Joel would not be nodding at this point.
I know he wouldn't.
To be fair, there are a lot of IPA drinkers out there.
There are.
But
And they'll find their way to those.
And I did throw a tall mast in there. Granted, it's an
Sure.
English IPA. But
It-
I like to give that beer to an IPA drinker because it
Yeah.
is so different.
I always love the comment when they drink tall mast, which, by the way, has won silver, gold in the last 3 years of U.S.
Yeah.
Open. And they always come back and say, that is a really interesting direction to take an IPA. And I can't help but, I don't have enough time to explain to them that statement is completely upended.
Backwards.
From the truth.
Yeah.
That's where it all began.
Yeah.
all right, well, that'll conclude this episode of Respecting the Beer. The producer of Respecting the Beer is David Calso, and if it wasn't for David, this show would not exist. Please join the Facebook group to get updates between the episodes and to support the show over on Patreon, where you can get bits that don't make it into the regular show, as well as special things like events and special beers that are brewed only for Patreon members. Links to both of these are in the show notes. And until next time, please remember to respect the beer.